Hello and good evening for this Wednesday, April 3rd, 2024. We have just finished watching the sixth episode of Survivor 46 titled Cancel Christmas, but it is kind of a Christmas here on Super Mader Brothers Podcasters. We're going to talk all about this episode. I'm Dave Mader, streaming here and live on Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitch. Of course, joined once again with Jaemeel Robinson.
Hello, Jaemeel Noel
Jameel
Robinson.
Jameel Noel, I love it.
Tis the season.
Yes, welcome tonight, Jameel. Good to see you. Yeah, Josh Foster, I think, also with us, but then he disappeared. Bananas Foster.
There was some pizza pockets that needed slaying.
Yeah, we were late getting on here, not because, really all because of Foster. It was like entirely he was derailing us. He was eating pizza pockets. He was talking to us about how we felt about him eating the pizza pocket, which also ate up time. So if you're here watching the podcast live, just know, we had hoped to go on by 9:40. It's actually 9:50 here on the East Coast. But that's how it goes here in showbiz sometimes. Yep. Okay, but we'll be talking all about the Survivor episode. We're here to talk Survivor. Cancel Christmas. It was the merge kind of tonight. Kind of as in the new era. This is kind of what we get now for merges, where there's a pre-merge and then a challenge based on random draw, which Jeff acted like this was the first time the teams have been lopsided in this. It's not. Many of the previous seasons in this new era have had lopsided teams. Maybe this was the most obvious one, but it was mostly based on the fact that most of the men were on one side, and therefore most of the tall people were on one side, because this challenge had a lot of climbing over things and whatever. So anyway, I'm going to talk about all that. But Mariah gets voted out here, guys, on the day 13, the 5th, to be voted out of this game. Jaemeel, we barely knew her.
We barely knew her. We've got barely any information. There's part of me when it comes to this type of Survivor experience that you feel kind of bad, especially when you have a super fan where you don't really get to know them. Like, their personality doesn't really get to come out. They talk about, for example, Aubrey. We all know who Aubrey. We use the word Aubrey to indicate a type of player because we got to see that character, through a period of time, long and short. And Mariah never got that opportunity, one, because her team won all the time. And, as a super fan, not being able to cut your teeth and vote and, have that full experience, I feel really bad.
Yeah, I guess this was really her episode tonight. Although I don't think did we ever get a segment with her with her little backstory with the photos and everything?
No, I don't remember that at all. Maybe she didn't have one.
Maybe she didn't have do you have to have a sappy, sad story in order for them to do that? Doesn't everyone have some version of that in their life, or maybe she doesn't?
What is Venus's sad story going to be? About the mean streets of Richmond Hill.
She can maybe talk about being, an immigrant or something along those lines.
Her parents being an immigrant.
Or, the challenges her parents face, perhaps.
And the pressure being a first gen.
I don't know, being a I don't know, everyone can put a spin on it if they want, if they think hard enough, but we didn't get that here with Mo, as she was known, although she was on
as they also said it as she was leaving, which I'm like, why did we not hear this before?
The Moschetti?
Yeah, Moschetti.
Yeah, that's not a bad nickname, but and she kind of blows up the game here for the Siga tribe here at the end, because I think she kind of knows she's going here. She obviously played her shot in the dark, although I felt like Venus had a really good shot at going out here tonight in this tribal council.
To me, honestly, Venus was the one that made sense to get out as opposed to Mo.
I think that they just see, if you had to get rid of one of them, and if you're not too worried about the tribal lines angle, I think that why wouldn't you want to take Venus closer to the end? Is she really going to win if you get her if she's in the final three?
But don't you already have Liz in that spot already geared up?
Well, they kind of backups, but I think they're between Liz and
just kept Banu then.
Well, I guess in a Venus versus Mo thing, I think Mo has more potential to do well, towards the end.
Yeah, she seemed more like the normal person,
Yeah, after
honestly.
she said her favorite player was Aubrey, and then Q lost his mind. He's like, "Oh, you're an Aubrey, are you? Oh, well, an Aubrey." Yeah, I was like, I remember Aubrey, but I don't remember her being this amazing player. Maybe I'm forgetting things, but
People felt that she should have won her season, and she got beat up by it was Ko Wrong she lost, I believe. Ko Wrong,
uh,
she lost that season.
Aubrey, yeah, Aubrey Survivor,
I'm putting my money down. She
Aubrey
was in
Bracco. Okay, so just
she
to
played
remind
twice.
herself, she played on Ka Wrong, Game Changers,
Game
and
changer.
Edge of Extinction. So she played
Yes.
3 times.
Yes.
And how did she
She
do
she
in
made
her?
an impression. Hence why
She,
her name, all right, is in high regard.
she has a really high day count in her 3 seasons. Like she went all 39 days in her first season. She got to the finale. She was the second runner. She was a runner up,
Yeah.
first runner up in her original season. She came
To
5th in her second time,
she
and
lost to
then
Christine? Am I
she came in the Cow Wrong
Go
season.
wrong? Yeah. I forget. I always forget the
Michelle,
women's name.
Michelle Fitzgerald.
Michelle Fitzgerald. Yeah.
And then Game Changer, she came 5th, and then in Edge of Extinction she was 16th. She got voted out early in that
Yeah.
particular season.
Once again, based upon her reputation as well.
Yeah, but she has like a combined, like, I
A
don't know,
pretty
like
impressive combined day count.
like 120 days out there,
Yes.
something like that. When you add up all those
They all
seasons.
can't be Francesca in terms of their day count.
Yeah, so she played between like 2016 was her original season, and her final season was 2019. It aired,
Mhm.
but it was actually filmed in 2018. So she did that all in like 2 years. She played like 3 seasons of Survivor. That's not too shabby.
I
Uh,
was a fan of Aubrey. I liked Aubrey.
I didn't mind her. I just didn't. But if someone said, like, if someone had said that to me, they said it to Q, like, oh, I'm like Aubrey, I'd be like, oh, cool. Like, I
Okay.
wouldn't have worried about it.
My issue is she isn't dominant, right? If you're gonna freak out about a person, and Foster's joining us, all the pizza pockets have been executed and have met a watery grave. We're talking about
Sometimes you need a quick dinner snack, Jaemeel. You know what? That's a
quick
bachelor life
dinner snack.
sometimes.
Keep
I'm
it on the
glad you
quick.
picked up that. I'm glad that's the one thing that stood out from our conversation before the podcast started. So I'm glad that we got
Oh,
me up to speed.
we had a whole bit about it, so don't
Oh
worry.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was a rush job. It was really hot, and I luckily I didn't burn my mouth. So we're moving forward.
I'm glad for your tongue. I'm glad for your tongue.
Yeah,
We
I
were
know.
just talking about, just to get you up to speed, we're talking about Mariah and how Q kind of freaked out once she was paired with being in this her survivor idol that she wants to gear her game around is Aubrey. And I was stating that it's weird that Q would freak out. Aubrey wasn't known as being this dominant player, right? So to think that way, to have that type of energy, it just seems like he was kind of grasping on this scenario to kind of push an agenda, because you got to vote out someone. If someone gives you the bait, you might as well reel it in.
Right. Yeah. So Foster, how did you feel about the exit of Mariah from the season tonight? Overall, she ends up being the boot here, and will not be on the jury.
To be quite honest, Dave, I was surprised that she was voted out. I really thought it was going to be Venus. Like it just once again, it's kind of twofold, right? Like once again, we come back to how how the producers portray the episode, right? In terms of like giving you the hints as to who's going home, and then obviously to be the different situation at the end. That being said, it still does not make sense to me that they would keep Mariah, or sorry, they keep Venus over Mariah, when it seemed like Mariah, even with her exclamation at the tribal of being at the bottom, that seems more valuable than Venus being such a um, forward player. We'll call it.
Well, what I get that Venus is an aggressive player, but is she really a threat to these other players at this
She's not a
stage?
threat because she doesn't have anybody with her.
And
The
if she
vote, the
gets
vote for Mariah was not her decision.
if she gets down to the end, is Venus who's a bigger threat in the end game? Is it Venus or Mariah? If you
In
have
the
to
end
pick
game,
between those two.
I think the way that you're asking this question, Dave, though, is based upon
like my initial reaction is Venus, just because it seems like the way that she can speak about her way that she kind of I guess her resume, if you will. Right. Like I could see there being a situation where she could speak better on that over Mariah. However, I think Mariah would come across more likable to the jury. And if it was down to those two, like I think that Mariah would probably win, because I feel like Venus will rub a lot of people the wrong way. As of right now, like you don't know, right? Like things could change, right? But that's kind of
Right.
where.
Well, Jaemeel, not to be accused of leading the witness here, but I think that if you really saw like especially the looks that Venus was getting tonight at Tribal from maybe Tim and Kenzie and Q and these other players who have not played with her yet, right? And they're just like, who is she? And she sucks, and we don't like her. And I just don't think that if they end up being jurors and she's somehow at the end, I don't think they're going to vote for her. So from that standpoint, I think a lot of maybe some other players wouldn't too. And she's not that big of a threat as to win. Now, is she a disruption in the like how everything's going right now? Yeah. Does that really only seem to bother Q? Probably. About Hunter, I don't think Hunter.
Everything bothers Q. It seems like.
Yes.
Everything. He's got something to say about everything.
Especially about Venus. Actually, guys, this was too good of a moment. I had to pull it as a clip. Let's play the clip, guys.
But I have to make sure Venus understands. I put my game on the line and told you exactly what is going to happen. If you're going to be ungrateful, I'll send your ass back to Canada.
So what are you?
I'll send your ass back to Canada, she said. He said.
Well said.
I chuckled so much after that. It was just
if you're gonna be ungrateful, Venus, I'll send your ass back to Canada.
Now, if she said, I'm gonna send you back to the South, or he's from Atlanta, right?
No, he's from
North Carolina, South Carolina,
like near New Orleans, isn't he?
New Orleans,
like Louisiana, I believe.
Louisiana. If she said, you better act right, or I'm gonna send your ass back to Louisiana, right? I think people would have been like, oh, I think that's a little bit too feisty, you know.
Memphis, actually.
Memphis, Tennessee.
Memphis, Memphis is his hometown, but I think he lives in Memphis now, but he's actually from Mississippi originally.
Mississippi.
Okay. It was interesting. Sorry, real quick, Jaemeel. The way that he talks, I was like, I made a comment, and I had my neighbors over watching the merge episode. Happy merge, everyone, by the way, as my neighbor would say. And so with Q, I didn't like. I made a point about the way that he brings it upon himself, like just the way that he speaks, right? There's the way that he presents himself, and I didn't realize. I forgot. My neighbor reminded me that he's a motivational speaker, right?
Yeah. Fun fact. Q is the first contestant in Survivor history with a first name with the letter Q.
But is I'm pretty sure he's a motivational speaker, though, is he not?
Well, he might be that too. That's another fun fact.
I thought he was a real estate agent.
His three favorite hobbies are fishing, riding four-wheelers, and building houses. Building houses is your hobby?
Maybe Habitat for Humanity, maybe?
Maybe.
Okay. I'm just saying that
he can eat 2 boxes of pizza in one sitting by himself.
That's no challenge. Come on.
Well, like Foster can eat like 2 pizza pockets in one sitting, so it's
well, that's child's play. That was a snack.
How about a pie eating competition between Q and Foster?
I'm just saying, regarding the situation when we're comparing Venus to Mariah, is that Mariah is the unknown quantity right now. We don't know. She hasn't really made any moves or really rubbed people the wrong way. Even after the Ben vote, right, that she did, it wasn't like, well, we can't trust Mariah. It was never that. It seemed like it was really glossed over, right? As just she was a casualty that she was not talking to.
Well,
Whereas with Venus, I'm just saying, with Venus, she's already kind of put her cards on the table as being a disruptor, right? As someone who is
right.
constantly going to be a thorn in people's side. And I think that she would eventually garner votes at the end if she makes it to the end. As being
Okay,
that, why is
maybe.
this mosquito still in this game? Right? She should have been swatted and she didn't make it. That
Yeah.
would give her a vote or two.
There's a
That's a
chance. There's a
second place
chance for
game.
that. It's not impossible, but I think it's not what you see happen a lot of times.
If she outlasts Q would vote for her.
Maybe. I'm not. I can't say that confidently. I think there's a chance, but I think it's a good chance it doesn't happen that way. Um, the one they talked about was Charlie. He was thrown out as potential, or at least that's what Venus wanted, like to get a guy out. But the girls already have like a numbers advantage, right? Going into this.
Yes. Yes, which
So
is why Q was like livid because he's like, wait, you already have the numbers advantage. You don't want to give that up. There's no give and take. Well, then
mhm.
screw you. You'll go to be the one who's gone, and you won't have to worry about this issue of you know equality between the men and women.
Right. There was a few ways to look at this vote. Yeah, men, women, how the tribes are going to kind of shake out by the end of it, because we have 3 tribes coming into this. Yanu only having 3, and Q, Kenzie, and Tiffany. And then Siga had the next amount with 5, right? Or no, wouldn't they tied? Wasn't Nami? I guess Nami and Siga were technically tied going into
Yeah, they technically tied because one team had a medvac with Radin,
with Randon,
Raiden,
right?
and
Okay,
then the other
so
one had elimination.
well, but why do you feel like in particular Hunter was really pushing this narrative tonight that it had to be a Sega member to go, and that's why Mariah ended up being the target here?
Because they never lost, technically.
No, Sega lost the last immunity challenge in the last episode.
Wasn't it? You're right.
So
I stand corrected.
when Hunter said that to like even Sega people, I think Sega people, maybe it was just
It was Tim. Like he said it in Tim's presence. I know he did it
in Tim's presence. He's like, Tim, we got to get one of your people out, like the Sega group. And Tim didn't seem. I guess he's like, well, I'm willing to sacrifice Mariah, but why are you willing to sacrifice a number? You know,
He was pressured to say something.
Tim. Okay, if that brings us to Tim, I think Tim played this episode poorly from like beginning, middle, and end. I have yet to see someone who is in such a decent position just absolutely squander any type of advantage he has. First off, he never connects with Mariah about this alliance that he's Maria, sorry.
Yeah. Until later. Yeah, that's a whole story in the episode in itself, where Maria was like, why would Tim include me in this?
Tim, like what? That dude?
I was like, why would Tim bring Maria in when Ben's supposed to be his guy? And you're like, that's Maria. She's an amazing player. She's somehow in with Tim. And I was like, well, maybe. It turns out no. Like, I think Tim just pulled Maria out of the air. Because he was like, I think in Tim's mind, he was dealing with the enemy. And so, yes, I will make this alliance with you, Hunter of the Orange tribe, the Nami tribe, and who was the other person involved? Q of the Yonu.
Yeah.
Right. But in reality, I think he's still more loyal to his Seeger group. And so
Ben, yeah.
I think throwing out Maria's name was almost like a bit of misdirect, but then he's like, well, maybe I do want this alliance, and maybe I do like this idea. So that was what my take on it.
It just, even if, let's say, he didn't really, have that conversation, the moment they say, drop your buffs, you should run over. He's like, hey, can we have a quick conversation? And like do it then. Don't have people show up. Right? Have conversations about said alliance and then circle back. Right?
Yeah.
Because she could have dropped I felt that there was a lot of information that was given to Q, especially Mr. Q, who is like, trust and telling the truth is paramount in terms of relationships with people. Tim flat out obviously did not wasn't truthful in what he was presenting.
Right. Well, none of the Sika group were like, because that's kind of what like Mariah's little parting gift was to say like, hey, I was left out at the last vote, and all like not just me, but all like Charlie and all the Sika members, we all lied about this, and we said it was unanimous that we had voted out Jim unanimously because they didn't want to show any cracks. And then Mariah's like, well, whatever. Clearly, you guys, it didn't matter that I was a Sika because Tim's willing to sell her out. Who like in terms of who votes her out tonight? Specifically, it's everybody except Charlie, who voted for Venus. Probably because Venus wanted to get Charlie out.
And at the same time, if everyone was voting for Mariah, you might as well put that vote for Venus just in case Shot in the Dark, Immunity Idol negates everyone's vote that's on Mariah, and then you get screwed with
Actually, I think it was dumb of Venus should have put a vote on Charlie in return.
Should have.
Yeah. Like after she had pitched this, because obviously Charlie voted for her, because if there had been the Shot in the Dark was played here by Mariah, and it's 5 out of 6 chance you're not going to get it, which is fairly high. So always exciting TV, I guess. But you
think they should increase the chances of Shot in the Dark?
I think so. Maybe a 1 in 3.
Understanding that Shot in the Dark you could only use once per season.
Yes.
Why not increase it?
Yeah.
Right?
Foster,
and then you have people flush out Shot in the Dark.
How do you feel about the Shot in the Dark?
I feel like people are weighing it too much. Like it's not necessarily as I don't think it's as big of a threat as you think, because at the end of the day, the player 5 times out of 6, they're gonna lose their vote, right? So it kind of, I don't know. I guess I'm looking at it from a different perspective, but it just seems like, especially with the track record of there only being 2 ever out of 8 or 10 or whatever, right? So
the all-time stats on that, I don't know if we have that handy in terms of how many times Shots in the Darks have been played and how many times they have been successful. I'll see if I can get that information.
In the meantime, is it fate that Venus will eventually use a Shot in the Dark and it will win?
No, not a chance.
I don't know. Canadians have a good track record with it.
So I'm just trying to count here. It's mostly not worked, guys. It was first introduced in Survivor 41, where it was not worked. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It took 6. It took 6 not safes to get the first time it did work, as you would statistically expect. Then it was not safe. It worked again for Caleb in Survivor 45 just last season.
Canadian,
and then it's been played twice now since, and it including Mariah's time tonight, and it did not work. So
Dave, can you also briefly just tell me what is the percentage of Canadian victories with Shot in the Dark?
Of the 2 Shots in the Darks, Caleb's the only Canadian, right, to ever play it.
I believe so.
So it's 100%.
I'm just saying, Foster.
Stats
don't lie. The numbers are there.
Yeah. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 times it's been played. Twice it's worked. What's that as a percentage?
It's practically 1 in 6.
Yep. It's basically 1 in 6.
It's 1 in 6.
Right. So, but I guess, yeah, is it, I think it's a good thing in the game, yet I think it's because it's such a low probability. It's also, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it because all the other players freak out about it, mostly in the early stages of the game, especially when it's a small tribe and 1 vote can be so devastating. But here tonight, if it had worked for Mariah, it would have been Venus to go, and it would have been Charlie who would have sent her.
Yep.
Right.
Which is why I did not understand why they did not split the vote.
Yeah, it's kind of incredible because you don't know if Venus was going to throw a vote onto somebody else. Maybe she got she didn't want to vote for a woman, and she wasn't allowed to vote for Hunter and a whole bunch of other people tonight. So I guess they were just like, well, she's not that big of a threat. I would love to know. Anyway, where should we go to next, guys? Because I feel like we've kind of talked about the end game of the episode, but there was a lot that
Okay.
happened.
Was there, Dave? Was there? I'm sorry. I also have to point this out. I was bored this episode. This episode was so weirdly structured. I did not understand. You had practically, I felt, 20 minutes, like maybe 30 minutes dedicated to the challenge and the end game.
Well, a
Of
lot
the
of it was
episode?
based on them dropping their buffs and waking up, and so the first segment of it was just the Sega tribe coming back after having voted out Jem, and the fact that Mariah had been left out of that, and the episode starts with her and ends it with her getting voted out. We've seen this a lot of times, and so she kind of bookends the episode, but she feeling like she wishes she wasn't left out. But once you leave somebody out of a vote, especially this close to a merge, I think there's no way Sega could not know that this was going to be a problem for them or some kind of a liability, but if they had told her before the vote, hey, we're voting out Jem, what would have happened? Would it have worked?
She probably would have told. She might have told Jem, and then Jem would have used her immunity idol and still be in the game.
Right. So I don't know how else they could have played it other than to vote Ben out, which was obviously what was the other plan last week. So and then we get into the merge itself and them having to pack up their stuff as they all moved to the Nami beach.
The good beach,
I guess. And then a lot of it was like Hunter digging in the dirt in these stairs, him doing the clues and looking for the things. And apparently nobody knows he now has an immunity idol, guys. Because he had the Beware challenge. I don't know. I think he's more of a Foster lookalike than he's a Dave lookalike, I would say.
Yeah.
No, he's got the blonde beard. He's got longer hair, but I appreciate the comparison though.
He's closer to your age than he is to mine, so I don't know.
But I think it's the thought process of how much you will dominate in Survivor if you were on the show. That's where the connection also
comes. I would be like a puzzle genius, just like him and whatever else, and finding idols and everything else. How did he manage to do this? How did he manage to dig in those stairs? Liz was coming down, or was this just editing magic, if you want to call it that?
Everyone was focused on other things. That was the reason why. He was sitting there, and Soda and Liz were talking very loudly.
Oh yeah, and Venus was just giving hell to Soda.
Sorry, Venus and Soda.
And Venus is just like one of these people I would not want to be friends with in real life, or live on this beach with, and that's why I think she might hang around here for a while because she is more of a pest than she is a threat. And
Ana Lucia,
maybe more not Ana Lucia. Yeah, could be like an Ana Lucia type. But yeah, that's maybe not a bad analogy. So anyway, he manages to find it, and then I don't know. There was quite a bit of time spent on that, and then they actually had their boats approach. Tevin was kind of funny as he was watching them kind of come up here. He was kind of seeing
back to the narration. He's the narrator of this season.
Yeah, clearly. He was kind of welcoming them in. What did he say? Oh yeah, he had his whatever this was. Shando. I don't know. Are those real words or is that just some gibberish?
He was speaking in Klingonese.
That was Klingon. Oh, you haven't heard Shakespeare until you've heard in the original Klingon. Did you know that, Foster?
Yeah.
Oh no, I did not, Dave.
Yeah. Tupac Tupac. So we got so I can't remember how every one of these seasons in the new era have gone, Jaemeel, in the 40s in terms of this merge, but my recollection of it has been that there hasn't been a ton of socializing time before they end up doing this, divide them into two groups and make half of them safe and half of them not safe, basically, for this first vote. And if I'm correct in that, did you not like that they had some time to socialize and get to know each other? Feast.
I think there's a balance that needs to be provided. And I felt like we got this a whole lot of time, and it just felt like we were revisiting same conversations over and over again. And my eyes started to glaze over during this part.
Foster, how was this stuff for you? The merge stuff tonight.
It was kind of like it was kind of frantic. It seemed like it was just like all short conversations with a lot of different people, like not really like group conversations. Like I understand that you're showing a group shot, but it just seemed like there was no like. It just seemed like everyone was kind of like really nice together, and then like really like strategic on the side kind of thing, right? Like everyone was already into the game.
Well, yeah, they were all kind of getting to know each other with some introductions. Some a lot of like as you do is that you're bringing all these different groups together. There was stuff that they showed in the trailer that they didn't. I don't like showed in the episode that that Liz and Soda are not getting along. That a lot of
Soda's got a Goda.
Soda. I had some kind of frame from the trailer. Hold on, let me see if I just can find that quickly. Where it was basically that Soda. Like Liz was on the hot seat here tonight. What did she say to her?
Ooh, what did she say?
Sorry, guys, I don't know if I have it, but it was more like Liz didn't like Soda. That was kind of the gist of it. Anyway, Frantic says that we saw that it was a lot of Venus kind of introducing herself to some people.
Oh my
The bug
goodness.
eyes.
No, you know what she reminds me of? Alta, battle nun or warrior nun, the CG looking half robot human that movie that Robert Rodriguez made, where it's like this small warrior, like almost child.
Right, you're not talking
Alta,
not the Last Airbender stuff.
No, not Avatar. Alta warrior. Was it Battle Warrior? It's a Robert Rodriguez film. Is a big fan. She's very skinny and is supposed to be a strong, powerful warrior.
Oh, okay. So maybe she is that.
Folks, you'll look it up. You'll type it in the Google interwebs, and you'll see the resemblance of what I'm talking about, and you'll be like, Jaemeel, you were correct. And I reply to that assessment that you're making to yourself doing that Google search. Yes, I know I am. You're welcome.
We also, we alluded to it earlier, but this whole conversation between Maria and Q was quite interesting as they were trying to get that alliance going that had been sort of set up in the previous episode. He's like, Tim said you were, his guy, his man. And Maria's
Tim
like,
said that?
Tim said that? Like Tim from the Green Tribe, right? Who she says she gets along with, but she hadn't planned to like go like be a do or die with by any means.
She basically is like, he's all right, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, she wasn't like, and Q was just like, I don't know about this. He was feeling very uneasy about the whole conversation. Yeah, I think Maria's like, whatever. This is like, it's interesting. This is falling to my lap, but I don't know if this is necessarily going to be the alliance she goes the distance with. I think the fact that I don't know. I don't know if Tim really thought it through. I don't know if Tim meant to give out a real name or not. He doesn't really explain that. He said, I think he at least turns around and wants the alliance to work by the time he gets to this merge, at least. So
yeah.
As he's talking to Tevin, but it seems like why wouldn't have Tim just said Ben, because Ben is clearly his guy.
I thought it was Charlie. Like I know they keep saying Ben, but he's close. It seems like he doesn't talk to Ben that much, though. It seems like.
True. We saw that like there was a few conversations here tonight between Charlie and Tim.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe there is more to that relationship. Obviously, they voted together, in the last tribal, because it was really like Charlie and Maria who were kind of the swing votes last tribal, and ended up choosing to get Jem out with the idol in her pocket. Do you think that idol now gets replanted, or is that just gone?
Is it St. Beach?
No, it's New Beach.
So no.
Okay.
So if it was replanted, it would have been replanted that same night before Tremail.
Well, maybe, but then they left, so it could be still back because they didn't. They left that particular beach. So there was a lot about the alliance. We saw here Mariah and whatever, and then we got the actual challenge where they got split into the two teams. Let's talk about the two teams, guys. In terms of what we ended up getting here, so it was Charlie, Mariah, Soda, Maria, Venus, and Liz was on the orange team. They end up not losing here in the end by much. They lose probably by a minute, and that's is mostly because Hunter just beats through this puzzle in particular in the last segment here. Ends up being but ultimately this was kind of a close match.
Yeah.
More than it would have been on paper. Both of my draft picks were on the orange side, so they were both vulnerable tonight. I didn't end up losing either of them, but then we had in the middle, we had Tiffany, who she voted with the purple team consisting of Kenzie and Ben and Q, Hunter, Tim, and Tevin. So not a bad squad.
Yep.
Anyway, did you like the challenge tonight, Foster?
Ooh, yes.
Yeah, I liked how physical it was. I definitely did not expect, like you said, how close it would be. That was really nice. That was really good to see because it seemed like the rant because because they started off with like the random rock draw and like he emphasized or whatever, right? And I was like, okay, well, we'll see, right? And it still gave us a good show because you actually thought that they could come back up until the very end. Charlie was just slugging through it. It was great to see.
Charlie, yeah, he did step up. He's also like he was the only guy on his team and the tallest as well. So it was impressive to see the orange team work together. I think a lot of these like height based things were tough on maybe Soda in particular. And so it was, it was impressive to see how they all kind of persevered. Like these things where they come down these ramps, Foster, this one where they were like landing in the leaves. I find like these can be incredibly dangerous when you're coming down them. Like if you get like you can roll an ankle very easily. You can
I feel like the front of your foot can be caught and you could kind of fall, and then it would be like kind of just get caught and kind of.
Yeah, you can like just dislocate stuff. Like you have to really make sure to like not keep your feet out. I think in particular,
you can go head
first.
What if you head first? And I'm like, oh my gosh. Especially who was it? Was it Q that just kind of got momentum and he just kept kind of going? And I'm like, you need to slow down a little bit.
Yeah. I thought it was kind of an exciting fun one to watch, and like I felt, but I just felt bad. I like because it was such an underdog matchup, and because Orange came so close to this in this puzzle, I just kind of really and I both my draft picks were coming here, and I think under normal circumstances, Orange would have come back and won this if they didn't. But normal circumstances mean Hunter's not in the challenge. And I just think that this guy who basically does survivor puzzles as is extracurricular activities in science class, and he had a good team here. I think Q was just kind of feed him the pieces and they just kind of beasted through this in record time. And there was not much, I thought Venus, to her credit, was doing pretty good with it. Like, I think she would have got it, but it wasn't that she did it bad. It was just that Hunter did it so much better than everyone else.
Yeah. And we get the comment that Hunter's this puzzle whiz, which is like, oh, great. He is now going to be a target. People are going to think about
if he wasn't already. But
if he wasn't. But it makes it like you're getting into Joe category where people like, I don't think we're going to be able to beat this dude. Alliance or none, he has to go.
Well, in this particular tribal tonight, all these big competition challenge type people who you would normally label as threats were all safe, including Tiffany, who didn't even have to do anything. She just was like in the middle. She picked a team that marginally won, and she's safe too. But also like obviously Hunter, and I don't know if you consider Tevin a challenge threat or not, or even Q, but
Q's gonna drop the ball.
I think you can you can at least make a case for it, right? So, it was I don't know, it was tough to see that these were the particular people vulnerable, and I guess voting out Mariah of this group wasn't like if I were looking it up, I was like, I guess let's get Mariah or Charlie out would be like if all things were equal,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, they got a big feast here at the sanctuary, right? Any thoughts on that? It was more of a picnic.
Yeah, they kind of like I don't know. I just feel like they could have been a little bit more hearty, especially because they didn't get like a merge meal.
Yeah, and I guess they make all those other people hungry. A lot of wine, some charcuterie, but they were all. This is kind of where they all said that this is kind of where they kind of cook up the plan, like who we're going to vote out, and is that kind of what ends up happening.
You get the dynamics of, okay, yes, who we're gonna vote out, but also the whole conversation about cracks and Nami kind of lays the cards on the table, and Sigma is a little bit more reluctant until the right people are involved and kind of spill that way.
Right. Okay. I don't know. Like, in terms of everything else that came here, we kind of talked about quite a bit of it, just in terms of like how this vote went down, who voted for who and why. And in particular, I thought Q being annoyed with Venus was maybe my highlight of it. Beyond that, I don't know if there's a lot much more to cover here in terms of how this all played out tonight, unless, but correct me if I'm wrong.
It seemed like, it just seemed like, to Jingo's point, like earlier, like I wouldn't say it was boring, but for me personally, but it was very like, other than the Venus and Mariah, like for me, I think it was could go either way. The vote, like the merge, like it, I don't know, like they gotta.
But how much of this was just editing and how, like, them trying to sell us this idea? It might not be Mariah, maybe it will be Venus, and like to the point where
just so too much of the focus. It seemed like,
because they can't make it obvious. But how, like, if you were actually out there on that beach, Jaemeel would just go, "Oh, it was Mariah, 100%. It was never going to be anybody else," and that's how it feels to me.
The narrative kind of was like set really early in this episode. That is partly the reason why it felt so boring to me, because we knew we were only really looking at two individuals. And like Charlie, like when Charlie's name gets mentioned, as a viewer, I didn't really even take it seriously. That wasn't even an option.
Well, I guess you can say, like, hey, we like get us. Like, I got Venus's argument. Like, if we have to get a Sega member out, then why not? Like, why Charlie and why not Charlie instead of Mariah? But I guess if you're looking at it from the guy's perspective, you're like, no, because then there's gonna be one. There's the women will have two numbers in advantage, and I don't want to leave that sort of hanging out there. And which makes sense. Which Venus just doesn't want to accept. She's just trying to really push that hard, right? And that's ultimately like why it ends up being Mariah. Like, Liz is not considered, Soda is not considered. Is there anyone who else was vulnerable tonight? I think that's all of them.
No, there was 7 people vulnerable.
6. There were 6 people. Maria, I guess, was the other one.
Yeah,
that was vulnerable, right? So, but it's not even really talked about, even mildly. So it's kind of whatever it is. So I guess it was always going to be Mariah, is how I feel about it. Her exit interview, guys, was a little sad, I thought. Let's have a listen.
I just got voted out a survivor. The good news, everyone spelled my name right, so small victory there. But in this game, my biggest takeaway is you deserve as much as you believe you do. And that's up to you to determine. And it's sad to know that this is where my journey stops.
You deserve as much as you believe you do. And this is where my journey stops. So she didn't believe she deserved it?
Well, wouldn't you in that position? You haven't really done much. You pretty much have an okay relationship with your tribe, right? And then you have Venus, who is a disruptor, if I'm putting it lightly, is running around causing chaos,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
You're like, it can't be me, right? And then you hear your name, and it's like, well, I guess they have to say someone, but it can't be me.
Right. Yeah. Like, was there? Did they do a disservice here, Foster, voting out Mariah?
Like I said at the beginning of me joining, I thought it was going to be Venus.
And you wished it was Venus, or you thought it would?
I do also wish it was Venus. Yeah, I want her.
All right.
To
Well,
clarify.
maybe she'll be the next target.
Yeah, well, you keep someone like that around, right? It takes the target off your back. So
Yeah, she could be a threat.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at the next episode.
This is not the Q show. That ain't gonna work for us.
This could go into chaos mode.
Next time on Survivor. 2 people are going home tonight.
It could be a blindside tonight.
I am stressing.
We are ready to go at each other's throats.
Okay, so there's maybe some more excitement for you guys in the next one, where we can see that there's going to be 2 people voted out. They're probably going to do an immunity challenge. I bet men versus women, or like there'll be a man who's immune,
Yeah.
a man who's immune, and a woman who's immune. Is often what they've done.
Do you think it's time for individual endurance test?
Probably. That's probably is my guess is what the next challenge will be, is an endurance challenge and it will be whoever the last man standing will be immune and the last woman standing will be immune.
Mhm.
But there will be an overall winner probably.
So Hunter and not Hunter, sorry. I'm trying to think of who's going to win for the men. Most likely Hunter.
Most likely Hunter.
And the women,
Tiffany's.
Tiffany.
But, I could see Kenzie. I don't know. It depends what it is. And then who else? So and we saw here Ben was saying I'm screwed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, why would Ben say that? Maybe it might not be a men versus women sort of immunity challenge. It could be just like there's 2 teams and Ben's on the team that happened to lose or something like that. Is that they kind of done that?
Well, yeah, but so they said that 2 people are going home next week, and there's 2 idols. So if they do 2 teams, it's 1 person from each team.
And they have done that before. Like sometimes, yeah, each team has to vote somebody out, but sometimes it's the losing team only has to vote somebody out, and only the people who are on the losing team get to vote.
Yeah, but they did say it was 2 people though, right? So you're saying 2 people for 1 team?
No, that doesn't make sense. So it's more likely that they will both vote somebody out, and somebody in each group is immune.
Yeah. So I think they've done this before. Last year, where they have the 2 tribal councils, and the first person who gets voted out ends up taking the first spot in the jury and watches the second group. I think they did it last
No, I think it was the other way around. I think it was the first. No, it was the first one did not make jury, and the second made jury.
Yeah, that's right. So it will probably and I can see them repeating that again because they filmed these seasons back to back. So it's probably like the first whoever's in the losing group.
So 2 people are not making jury.
2 people. No, only one's not making the jury, but they were voting out 2 people.
No, I mean like since merged technically with Mariah.
Mariah. Well, okay, so 2, but
so 2
Mariah is technically not part of the merge. She never got her buff.
She was in the merge episode.
She's not a merge officially, so
she was in the merge episode.
Yeah, but like we talked about, I think that they should even go smaller on the jury. I feel like the jury should only be the final.
So what the jury's going to consist of 12 people? No, not 12 people, 9 people?
Well, there's 12 people left in the game right now.
Yeah. So 3 people are going to be in the final 3. So it's 9.
So it's 9. I think 2 less would be better.
It was 7.
With a 7-person jury would be my suggestion for how that would go out. And Ben's not feeling good about whatever group he's going to end up in. Probably a group dominated by Nami people.
Yeah.
In all likelihood.
It's Tiff Q and Kenzie, Ben, and that's 4.
And Hunter or something. I don't know. And Hunter is immune, so it won't matter, right? and you can't even vote him out.
Hunter's immune. Hunter also has his idol too.
Yeah, we saw here Q was causing a lot of chaos in this preview for next episode. Q is getting on the nerves of Kenzie and Tiffany.
I don't think that. I think that's just like a later on kind of warning kind of thing. I don't think that's necessarily an issue right now because Q is too essential to the 6 or whatever with Tiffany, at least for now.
Yes, but Q also feels obligated in some respects to exert his will. He has a confidence where you can just see that he can't just let the flow go. He's going to be pushing an agenda.
He has to be, he has to have agency, I think, Q.
He has to have the ball.
Right. So he can fumble it again. So I think that's
you see his video. Man, it was a trip plan. I put a lot of pressure on myself because I want to have that ball in my hand. I want to bring it over the end zone. In this case, it kind of slipped through my fingers again.
Yeah. Like I think that's what I always think with Q is that he's just the fumbler. Not even the first person with the letter Q to start their name in Survivor history. Just for a draft update, guys, here.
Yes.
With Mariah gone, that Team Sean is no more. Sean also had Randon, who was of course medically evacuated on day 7. So Randon and Mariah was his team. Didn't work out so well for him. Sean, who's done very well in our recent drafts, he won the most recent Survivor season, I believe, and Big Brother. So
strong showing. I don't think just a bad turn of events. You got you got a little bit of what I have.
Yeah,
when it comes to these shows.
Yeah, so Sean, there will be a new champion this season of our draft. I still have Venus and Maria, who I'm not Venus. I can't see her winning. It would have to be an incredible series of events to end up with Venus as the sole survivor this season. But my other pick, which isn't even a pick, is Maria, who I ended up she was not drafted. So because I had the first pick, I ended up getting her last. Mm-hmm. And I wish I had picked Maria first, but it always seems to work like that in our drafts with the players we tend to pass over, end up doing better on average, not always, but for instance, Mariah here tonight, she went 3rd overall, but Sean took her and she didn't work out. Foster, you still have both of your players in Charlie and Tim. Mm-hmm. I don't know about Tim. I think Charlie's more favorable to your chances at this point.
That's okay. I still got two guys in the race.
Yeah. Well, Jameel's got Hunter, which is like having 10 guys in the race. So I
Hunter ain't winning. If Hunter wins, there's a whole lot of people are screwed up.
Well, I think Hunter. The only way Hunter wins is if he just wins every immunity, or he's somehow immune every tribal, or he somehow escapes one that he's not.
Yeah.
But I think he can only dodge that once, where he somehow doesn't get voted out. But right now, how can he not be one of the biggest threats to vote out?
He's made a strong case as to why he's a big threat.
Even if he were to sit there and do nothing, I think he's still a threat.
Yes.
If he were to sit there and be absolutely lazy and useless, I still think they'd go, we gotta get
He's conserved his strength, Dave. The next wave is coming.
There's no way with the way he looks that they're not going to just be like that's sort of unfortunate in terms of how we sort of label people and sort of size people up in Survivor and in real life. But I just think that's the case here. So we'll see. But I'm rooting for Hunter to do well. But I just a lot of things.
In my vested interest, I do hope that Hunter does well.
Yeah. Jeff not with us tonight. He's still got Soda, but Soda gotta go to.
Soda gotta go to.
And who else is in this? Daryl's got Q and Ben. Maybe we'll see. Jane's got Tiffany still.
Mm-hmm.
And Amanda, who, as far as I understand, hasn't watched any of this season, has Liz and Tevin. So there you go.
There you go.
All right, well, guys, that's our coverage here of episode 6 of Survivor 46, titled "Cancel Christmas." We'll be back for the next episode, titled "Episode Several." Is that a reference?
Yeah, it's 2 episodes.
Oh, and is it because it's the 7th episode? And
And
because what was his name? Jelinski? Yeah, that was his name, right? The guy, the first boot of the season. Remember, he thought that several and 7 meant the same thing.
Yes, I
They're like,
think they're
no,
gonna. I
several
think they're
just
gonna
means more
fast
than 2.
forward. I think it might be a fast forward episode.
Yeah. Do you think it'll be 2-hour episode?
No, I think they're just kind of you're gonna speed through one, and everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, really?" and then focus on the other one.
Okay, well, maybe so. If you if you like other podcast people who might be listening and watching anytime in the future, you might want to know that our channel is part of a united federation of podcasts. There's several other shows and networks that come out, including one that's based on Star Trek. It's called Live Long in Podcast. It's a great Star Trek podcast going on all the time, all kinds of different shows. And tomorrow, Star Trek Discovery's newest season starts, season 5, the final season. I'll be on tomorrow night on that channel talking about the new season with Ashley Millard and Michael Chan and Chris Murphy. So that should be an interesting panel to kick off the season with.
Great lineup.
Yeah, as well. Coming up on this Sunday, we're doing Star Trek Radio Theater live. We're doing Conundrum from Star Trek: The Next Generation's 5th season. So listen to that over on that channel, and many more shows over there, as well as our, we got the X-Rated show with Davin and Andre, who cover X-Men the animated series and the new X-Men '97. If you're a fan of that stuff, Graphic Histories with Andre Mayette, all kinds of amazing interviews.
Yep.
People, all over the place. We got Hold Up with Chris and Chris Murphy and Davin arguing about movies. Sometimes they agree. They were just on with Kevin Millard
about sports.
About sports movies. You got Eamon Mater talking music. Sometimes maybe with Jaemeel Robinson.
It's coming.
It's coming.
Highly demanded. It's coming.
Yeah. Foster, would you have a musical album that you would talk to Eamon about?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay. Do you don't have a favorite album?
No, I'm not a big music guy, I guess.
Okay. All right. Well,
or big enough to talk on a podcast, I guess.
Okay. I'm sure there's something. We just got to tap into it.
Yeah.
All right. And then also look out for, hey, did you see this one with Stephen Waters and Jason Phillips? They're talking movies all the time as well. Okay. I think that's it, right? Those are all the plugs. Trivial Debates as well. Look out for Trivial Debates and the Hold Up and the Hellbound podcast. Okay. With that, I got to play it again, guys. We'll see you next time here, and have a good time. Thanks to Foster and to Jaemeel for tonight. All right.
But I have to make sure Venus understands. I put my game on the line and told you exactly what is going to happen. If you're going to be ungrateful, I'll send your ass back to Canada.
So what are you...